welcome to another episode of the Sharp Fit for Business, Fit for Life podcast with myself, Martin Sharp, and Dominic Furness.
Hello, good morning, guys.
We're getting more words out of him by the episode. He promised us 149 words. We're going to hold him to it on this one.
Yeah, we're on number 3 right now.
Absolutely fantastic. And it's a good one to go into as we move into method. So basically building a method and a lifestyle that is fit for you. So first kind of question would be, what on earth do we mean by method?
That'd be a good place to start. Take it away.
So it's all about how to actually create a lifestyle that's fit for you. What do you actually need to do to put this into play? And if this was a business where we're basically talking about doing a bit of planning, how do you put some plans in place? How do you put some structure in place? And how do you make it work? Now, the next kind of key question people would be asking is, why on earth do I need to do that?
Yeah, that'd be a good question to have.
You could even ask the question, why would you need to do that?
Why would you need to do that?
Oh, this is going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? So again, we're all creatures of habit, right? Human beings are creatures of habit. And then we've got habits that are going to build us up, and we're going to have habits that tear us down. And the key here is to try and build those habits into our life to actually make life easier.
And what habits might you use to make life easier?
Oh, what a great question. It's almost like I didn't prompt you at all for that one. So, again, the things that are going to make your life easier is almost being prepared. It's things that, if you've got a goal that you're aiming towards, and everyone should have a goal by now, that was kind of episode number 1. And then what are the things that you need to do to get that goal accomplished? So, for example, it might be some things you might need to learn. It might be some things that you need to add movement for. It might be some things you need to eat in a certain way. In which case, your habits, your plan, your kind of methodology that you're going to build for your life will be how can you incorporate those things into your life, just make it that little bit easier. And that might be as simple as just making sure you've scheduled time for it. And then number 1 rule is you never cancel on yourself.
Please, could you expand on that rule? What do you mean by never cancel on yourself?
That is a really good question. And this is what I find a lot of people do, especially busy people, because when you're busy in business, and you've got deadlines, and you've got family, and you've got everything else going on, the one thing that you always feel you can give up on is yourself. If you need to squeeze some time out, you might squeeze time out of your sleep. You might squeeze time out of the time you need to take for yourself to rest and relax. You might be squeezing the time out of the time you're going to use for exercising or to eat correctly or to prepare great meals, because you might be feeling that's the only time that you have available. And, I know a lot of people that I've had this conversation with, and they always go the same way. It's like, Martin, I just don't have enough time in the day. How on earth am I supposed to be able to find time to be able to do for myself?
So how did you find time in your own life?
Well, I think finding time, it's a really weird thing, because once you start to put it into your diary, then you suddenly find, and that becomes a priority. You don't cancel it. You can move it around. You can manage your diary in the right way. And again, a lot of business people are already really adept at managing their diaries, because they have to be, because they've got so many appointments, so many conversations they're having, so many pieces of work they need to do, that they have to kind of manage their diary really, really well. So as soon as you put yourself into your diary, so effectively you become a non-cancelable item, you actually put some importance around it, then yeah, you might want to move it a little bit, squeeze it here and there. But you then prioritize it. It becomes something you would have to do. It's a non-negotiable again. And that becomes a big mindset kind of shift. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy at all. I mean, certainly I remember the first few times I was trying to do it. And again, it was always a case of, oh, well, this needs to happen or that needs to happen. And a lot of times I'd feel really guilty sometimes about actually having to put myself first and say, no, I'm going to go to the gym. No, I'm going to prepare my food. I'm going to do whatever I needed to do for myself at that point.
Would you say over time that has become easier?
Yeah, and that's because of the benefits of it. And that's where the change really makes a difference, because as hard as it sounds right at the beginning, when you're thinking, oh my God, I cannot find the time for it. Once you have found the time for it and you start to feel the benefits of having a sharper mind, of feeling more focused, of having that little bit extra energy, then everything else doesn't take quite as long as it did before. Which is kind of like one of those crazy things. It's like everyone's like going, how on earth am I going to find time because I've got so much on? But then when you do find time, you sort of start to feel better. You almost create more time.
And that's what we were saying in the last episode, really. But like when you're putting yourself first a bit and you get that clarity. So then you're taking away time, but you kind of be more productive with the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of one of the hardest things. First of all, to get your head around, and then secondly, for people to believe. And people don't. I've found people don't tend to believe it until they've experienced it. And then once they've kind of experienced it, they don't want to go back because they've suddenly found actually this way they can well, the terrible analogy, but you can have your cake and eat it effectively. You can have that time for yourself and yet still have all the time that you needed to do things like the things in the family, things for work, etc.
Yeah, and you're just doing it with more purpose, more passion.
It is, and that purpose and the passion kind of shines through. It kind of helps keep you on target as you're kind of going through things on a day by day basis. So if you suddenly find actually, no, I'm having a bit of a hard day, because you've kind of set that time out for yourself, then you have to kind of park all that. You park it to one side, and then it's great because not only then do you get the benefits from a physical point of view, but actually you start to get those mental health kind of benefits as well because you've kind of put some structure around things.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely good to know.
Yeah, and that kind of structure brings in itself a whole load of kind of performance benefits. I mean, this is like business practice 101. You know, if you're going to build a project plan, some of the kind of key things that projects create is by doing the planning. Don't get me wrong, all project plans are wrong, every single one of them. But the planning process is the most invaluable part of it because that brings an amount of structure, it brings an amount of thought that you're going to put into things. It helps reduce your stress levels because you're able to plan ahead and think about things. And that creates in itself its increase in effectiveness and productivity. And it also improves the quality of what kind of comes out. And those are standards that we would expect from any kind of project plan, rather than kind of making things up on the spot and then hoping to God that you've actually managed to achieve everything at the end. So even though all project plans are wrong, some project plans are useful, and that planning process is absolutely valuable. And the same thing happens with our lives, because as soon as we start to then put some conscious thought into actually how we're planning, putting the planning cycles in place, and then executing against that plan, we also then can hold something that we're measuring. It doesn't mean that we're always going to be right, but we have something to measure against.
So do you take that kind of planning into your life? Like how do you plan? Like 30-day plan, 6-day plan, 90-day plan, 120-day plan, 1-year plan?
Yeah, so you'll have different planning horizons depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. And you should have multiple planning horizons. So again, going back to our kind of first episode we did of this little mini series where we're looking at those kind of 6 fundamental skills. The first thing we start looking at is things like goals and having that idea between a goal and an outcome. So the goals are kind of the things that you're doing. You might have a short-term goal. That might be a week in, week out kind of goal, making sure you're doing the right thing, process-orientated goals effectively. Versus kind of like the outcome, which might be something that's more substantial. Your outcome might be to, I don't know, live healthily. It might be to be able to play with your grandchildren if that's the kind of area of life you've kind of got to, or it might be able to continue to cycle 100 miles every year just because you can. And that might be part of what your goals and what your outcomes are that you're looking for. So you have to have these various different time horizons. And for me, I always do the same type of thing. I try and split things down. And just like a business, the more time horizons you put in place, then the more you're able to sort of track and measure against them and be able to do course corrections when you need to. Now, the thing with that is too many time horizons, and actually the goals become quite meaningless, and you might never feel like you're actually getting anywhere because you're not giving your body the time it needs to adapt, or your life the time it needs to adapt. And too long time horizons, and again, that might lose the impetus. You might lose that kind of that mental agility, that mental kind of feeling that actually I want to get this done, and it kind of just drifts away. So having to find those kind of horizons that fit nicely with you is good. So one that I kind of advocate is using the good old business 90-day planning cycles.
Yeah, please expand.
So the reason for that is most business people know what they are, and it's a nice way of being able to fit in at least 4 in a year. So inside a business, a 90-day planning cycle, you'd usually use the first 30 days to understand what the problem is, maybe test out some ideas, etc., see what kind of fits. The next 30 days through implementation to actually get this thing working. And then the last 30 days is usually around how do you optimize it, make it even better. And if you kind of turn that into how you can deal with things in your own life, it kind of fits in the same way. That first 4-week plan you kind of put in place, it might be that you don't get it in 100% right. So you might be tweaking it during that kind of first 4-week period. The following 4 weeks, you're just getting into the rhythm of things, and you should be seeing slight steady bits of progress, things changing, etc. And that last 4 weeks of that kind of planning cycle, you should be definitely seeing some good progress and aiming towards that goal. So you should be in a position where you're going to achieve it, or if you're not going to specifically achieve it, you might be so close, or at least know what you need to do next time to get there. Now, anybody who's good at maths at this point of time will have just noticed that if you've got 3 lots of 4 weeks, that's only 12 weeks, and in a calendar year, a quarter's 13 weeks. So that gives us an extra spare week. And let's face it,
What are you going to do in that week?
something
Leeway.
something always goes wrong. So you can either kind of plan for every single week, or you can take that 1 week and actually stick it in the bank and say, actually, no, it's there for when things go wrong. Because, in every quarter, every year, something always happens that you don't expect it. You become ill, a member of the family becomes ill, some disaster happens in the house, some disaster happens at work, some clients got an issue, whatever happens, there's always something which is has the potential to derail you.
And that extra bit of time just gives you that little bit of breathing room, bit of leeway for those events.
Exactly.
So when they happen, you're not like, then it could be easy to lose focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, so you kind of got this ability to, if something does go wrong, you can not, it doesn't take you off target.
It's maneuverability within the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. But it still keeps you kind of still wedded to the direction that you're kind of going in. And at the end of that planning cycle, you might decide, actually, no, the goal needs to change. And that's the other kind of key thing here, is to don't get so hard tied to that goal that actually the goal then becomes the anchor and holds you back. Because as you start to change, as your body starts to change, as your mind starts to change, you start to learn new skills and things, sometimes it means that the goal needs to change, and the aspiration might want to take a different kind of direction.
What's your direction currently?
Oh, crumbs. I've got several, as you can probably imagine. So obviously the top line goal is to continue to live a happy, healthy, and high achieving life. That's definitely my North Star, as you might want to call it, the Polaris, the kind of the total direction of travel, the final outcome.
Pull.
Yeah, all those kind of words work really well. And then within that, obviously, there's different ways of being able to do that. So they've got the direction of, obviously, the 3 marathons next year. That's obviously high on my agenda. I want to continue to do some other big adventures. So I'll get myself out doing something, hill walking or mountain climbing or something, I don't know, something in the planning for next year.
Yeah, sounds good.
And just continue to work on get my body as healthy as I possibly can, and then sharing the knowledge as well, and sharing the love that I've kind of come across in that time, so that I'm not the only person who can benefit from this, that actually others can as well. And if I can do that by inspiring and motivating and supporting and helping others, that's absolutely fantastic along the way.
That is very good. That sounds like a good direction to have.
Yeah, what about yourself? What kind of direction are you taking yourself in? What's the program for the year ahead?
For next year, well, I would like to become less. I would like to consume less. So what I mean by that is consume less. I want to be more of a creator than a consumer. Like, I don't really want to buy new things. I don't really want to, I want to take in new information, but not. Like, I've done a very good job this year of not just watching mindless stuff all the time. And when I'm watching something, to take in information, I tried to take the time to read and things last year. It's just not for me. And it's not that it's not for me ever. It's just not for me now. I think my life moves too fast and my brain moves too fast to take that time to be able to sit and try to digest. In the future, I'd like to be able to do it, but right now, that is not the case. I would like to focus on improving my body instead of like. I spent a lot of time kind of building up my equipment and my arsenal of things to do, but now I would like to build up my actual body and not move more, but move better. Still keep gymming every day because that was a hard thing to start. I would like to. This holds me accountable to it, I suppose. I'd like to stretch often. Not quite decided how often yet, but it's something. It's something I need to work on, and the longer I put it off, the worse it'll be.
Mm.
But yeah, that's probably the goals I've thought of so far. I'm sure there'll be more. But yeah, just moving into the realm of self improvement, really. And yeah, my new things like times change, life changes, and
It certainly
we're in a new
does.
place.
And again, not being overly wedded to their kind of previous goals, actually saying, actually, no, these ones are no longer fulfilling me. They're no longer actually my direction of travel. And
Yeah,
actually
because my previous goals was to be as gnarly as possible and to see the world, which seeing the world is still my goal, but I just want to see it in a less gnarly way.
gnarly. What do you mean by gnarly?
Like, I don't really have the urge to throw myself like off bridges into rivers anymore. I don't know. Like shifting from being the center of attention and the person who'll do anything to being like, I'm just doing things for me now.
I can appreciate that. So yeah, so actually now you've got a series of goals, you know what you're usually looking, and now it's time to break those down and say, okay, well, what am I going to achieve over this next quarter? What am I going to achieve over the year ahead? What am I going to achieve in the next 5 years? And kind of really starting to put some shape around them.
See, I'm not. We can have a little discussion about this because I'm not sure how much I preach a 5-year plan, or maybe it's just because of my age. Because I think it'd be naive to think that I'm going to be the same person in 5 years. If I think to who I was 5 years ago, this would not be on the plan.
That's correct.
So I don't know. Like a year seems like a manageable time frame, and I definitely have not in the past been one to like, oh, new year, new me kind of thing. But the year time frame for me seems like a good time frame where you can actually implement and see results. And I think you say 12 weeks is good for that.
Yeah.
So they're like the little milestones, but then overall, I think you could definitely look back over a year and be like, wow, like it's changed. But then also at the end of the year, I've probably decided to take a slightly different diversion, but it's like a diversion in the right direction still.
Yeah, and it's always good when you kind of start to look back as well and look at what you did achieve. Because again, going back to what we talked about in the last episode around monitoring.
Yeah, I have a question actually before we go further. Do you write down your goals so then you can look back and be like, oh yeah, I have changed in that way? Or do you make a mental note and go?
No, I write them down. Again, everything we write down, we reinforce to ourselves. Every time we share that with other people, we then create a accountability. We also create a person that we're trying to become, which holds us more accountable to that. And the wider the spread of people that get to know about that, then the more likely it is that you're going to achieve them. So again, this comes back to what we said kind of in the first episode around how you actually keep yourself on track sometimes. So having that ability to like write down those goals and actually then go back and remeasure them. And also seeing throughout the year, you know, what else has kind of changed, or throughout the 5-year period, what else has changed?
Like, do you mean as a result of trying to make the initial change? You know, like, I'll use the gym analogy since that's what we do. Like, no exercise is targeting a specific muscle. It leans more heavily towards targeting that muscle. But no matter what you do, you're not going to engage that one muscle 100%. There'll be other ones that get used in the process. You're actually more targeting an area that's got a more heavier bias towards a specific muscle. Is that what you mean in this? Like your specific goal has like other outcomes that will spin off it?
Yeah, and some of those are going to be unexpected. And
I'm just saying, is that what you mean though?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. There's going to be things that come out that are going to be unexpected. There's also going to be things that you couldn't have even foretold. It's like complete left field.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of just part of what happens as you're going through life. So for example, you know, we look back over the last year for ourselves and look at some of the things we achieved. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we looked at doing the 10K with Sarah and myself as a race. we never foretold doing the 10 miler. That was never on the cards. We didn't even think about joining things like parkrun. That was never on the cards. But yet the opportunity came up during that year. We took it, and we it changed how we viewed things. And actually, it's helped both of us have more time together as a couple. It's given us another kind of purpose, another outlet. And actually, we've really enjoyed working ourselves through that. So during that process, and this is where, again, coming back down to that kind of 90-day planning piece, your first thing there is you set up an idea. This is what I'm intending on doing. And as you start to go through that implementation piece, that's where things start to change, and you start to work out, maybe something else kind of comes in. And it means then you can continue to do that on an ongoing basis, or you can choose to say, no, I'm not going to do that any further, but you've kind of entertained it and you've given it a try.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, if there's, because I think it's okay to say, no, this is not for me. Like with the reading, because you just get to a point where it is not adding anything to your life. It becomes a complete burden. Like, you went into the a bit like what you're saying with being an anchor. Like, you go in with the expectation that it's going to make you a better person and improve your life. But some things, it just doesn't work for everybody.
That's right.
And yeah, so you've kind of like highlighted that is okay to just can it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you got
like, you could give something a good go, though. That's my other argument too. Yeah, you can't just do it once and be like, I don't like it.
Yeah, you just got to find out which bits work for you and continue to utilize those. And the things that, even things that work for you today might not work for you in a year's time.
Yeah, and on the other side of the scale, like, things are a chain reaction. Like, I wouldn't say, am I a healthy eater? Like, I would say I was a healthy eater, and then I became very much like, I'll drink beer and eat pizza every day. And then from starting the gym, that kind of then chain fed into, no pun intended there, but yeah, like, had a chain reaction into like eating better. And then that made me want to move better. And it becomes like a bit of like a positive addiction to just like keep changing things and keep improving. But yeah, at a point it'll plateau.
Yeah, or something else will come along, or you'll find something interesting to do. But that's the whole point. It's not you just have to do this one thing, and that's the one thing you're going to do for.
Yeah, it's not a linear path, basically.
Yeah, so kind of learning a way of being able to create that methodology for life means that you're going to constantly be able to change it, and that's the reality of it. This might be something that only lasts for the next 3 months, but then you know how to rewrite things for the following 3 months, and you rewrite things for the following 3 months. So you're constantly kind of keeping up with the fact that your life and your lifestyle and your body and everything else around you is constantly changing. It's constantly being in flux. So you've got this ability then to keep that same kind of level of focus on it.
And as we spoke about in the previous episode, it does change slowly. So it probably shouldn't, it won't slip away from you, basically.
No, not at all. And yeah, it's just keep track, keep managing it. And again, there's things that you can do to make your life even easier, especially, for example, if you do have the more longer term goals. So if you've got things like, I don't know, a year goal, 5-year goal of being healthier, etc., and that actually you need to be eating a certain way or need to have certain things in your life. So it might be, for example, you're a member of an athletics club, or you might be joining a local football club, or you might be joining the local gym. Those kind of memberships, you just get them on repeat. So then that way you've already committed to it. It just comes out. You don't have to start thinking about it again. And it makes it an easier habit.
That is a big thing, because ever since I swapped my climb into like a direct thing, like, you can just go whenever. And that is much easier than trying to like be like, I don't know, like, if you know it's there, that does make it a lot easier to go. But I can also imagine that may go the other way. Because it's like, I go tomorrow. I don't really have that problem. It like works a lot in my favor, something like that, or having a gym membership.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got the gym here. I've also got a gym membership, but don't tend to use the gym membership. That's one of those kind of subscriptions I really should cancel at some point. But it's one of those as well. I could use in any of the gym chains. It's one of those gym chains, so I can use them anywhere around the UK, which is great when I'm working with clients in different locations, because it means that I can just bob into the gym wherever I am. So yeah, it's a case of if you have got things that aren't serving you anymore, you should really get rid of them as well. And again, that's where having this ability to plan over a fairly regular basis means that you can take a look at those things and say, actually, no, I don't need this anymore. You can get rid of it, and you're more likely to do so as well.
And the beauty of these things is you can often go back.
Mm.
So if you're like I'm not using it right now, but you don't want to cancel just in case you're going to use it in the future, we should probably look and kind of work out what the likelihood of that is, and if in a scenario that does happen, as quickly we go on again in most cases.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is all around those kind of 4 key aspects. What we're trying to do is when we're building these plans, we're trying to is to keep ourselves in a point where we build on the momentum we've kind of created. We can then create that repetition so that we are giving our bodies and our minds and our health, etc., the most positive ability to be able to make the change we want to do, and we can build on that consistency and that perseverance, through change, through adversity, etc. Which means that we get those adaptations we've talked about previously, and come out of the experience stronger.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah,
build patterns.
Yeah, definitely. And these patterns will happen at all sorts of time frames. So we've talked about the kind of planning cycle and kind of the monthly, quarterly, yearly, 5-yearly goal type of things. But actually, this can come all the way down to being weekly and daily in some respects, or even down to how you deal with a specific element of it. So, for example, if we come back a couple of episodes and we were talking about things like nutrition, or especially around things like resistance training days, you might be thinking about, actually, how do I plan the whole of that together? So you might be working out what it is that you're going to eat before you go to do the workout, what you're going to eat during your workout, what you're going to eat after your workout. And that, again, is part of your planning cycle. So you understand that. And then when you start to top and tail it with things like, okay, well, what other things do I need to prepare to go to the gym with, or to go on whatever piece of exercise that you're doing? For example, if you're going to go for a run, what do you need to take with you? What do you need for after your run? So, for example, if it's going to be, are you going to be cold afterwards? Do you need to make sure you have some warm clothing or a thermal blanket of some kind? Are you going to be going with other people? Are you going to be going on your own? Do you have a support crew with you, etc.? So there's a whole variety of things that you can then start to think about as you start to build on that activity itself. And because you've kind of spent that little bit of time thinking about it beforehand, it means that when you actually come to do the activity, it becomes a lot more easier, more enjoyable. You can actually just throw yourself into it and then get the most out of it. Because again, going back to that old thing, time is the one thing we don't get back. So the more we can get the best return on the investment for the time we put in, the better, really.
Yeah, that's a good insight.
Yeah, I hope so. And so we've kind of talked a bit about how we can use that time. We've talked a little bit about things like the subscriptions of things like gyms, etc. And obviously that can extend to anything really these days. I mean, Amazon is just one of those amazing places where you can get all sorts of things. Amazon do not sponsor this, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
But Bezos, if you're listening.
I love the hope there. But yeah, but it is a case of things where you can get anything on repeat for subscriptions of some kind. It just kind of takes some of the effort out of it for you, and also means that it's going to be there for you to use as and when you need it. So
and you can get subscriptions to the foodie stuff like protein and DAA powders and stuff like that.
Yeah, shopping, etc. Most things that you can get from the shops, or even, for example, if you're just using a shopping list, most of the big supermarkets these days, they almost have a way you can do all on an app. You can have it delivered to your house if you wanted to, and they have it so you can have it on repeat. So again, it gets to know what you like, what you want, and I think, like we talked about in the food, most people tend to eat around about 20 different meals on a fortnightly basis. And they'll always go back to things that they know about. So again, if you've kind of already prepared those ideas in mind and you've got some way of being able to make that easier, it just makes the good habits, the good decisions easier to make. And then if you make the bad habits or the harder decisions harder to do, because you may not buy those items or you may keep them at arm's length or whatever, then it just helps support you there. It helps support you in being able to make the right decisions, because sometimes you can go into these things with the greatest of intentions, but it's in the stress of the moment, those days where you're just feeling fatigued, tired, stressed, you're irritated, everything's not going the way that you planned it to go, And there's those kind of decisions sometimes that can make or break a week and can make something really good or really, really bad. I always remember chatting with a guy, and he liked to have a few beers. That's let's put it that way. And the thing with that is, one beer every now and again's okay. But what he was finding is it wouldn't be just one beer; it might be two, three, four, five beers, and probably more than once a week. And then actually sitting down with him, making him realise that actually the amount that was adding to just literally from a calorific point of view, the amount that was adding to the bottom line effectively meant that all the hard work he was putting in was literally just going straight on beer, let alone the costs, etc. on that. And it's when you kind of realize those things, you can kind of make those kind of decisions. Say, okay, well, for him, it was a case he wasn't going to buy any more beers to just keep in the house. What he would do is he would only go get a beer at the points actually where he really, really wanted one. And what he found very quickly was he didn't actually want beer all the time.
There.
It was the habit of it having it there. So as soon as he kind of started to break the habit, and don't get me wrong, it was hard for him. There's many times he would be cursing and swearing at me because, I was keeping him accountable at the end of the day to stick to what he was needing to do. But it's because that's what he wanted. But he found once he got over it, and after I think it took him about a good 3 months, he found that he wasn't really missing it that much. So he could still enjoy going out and having one or two with friends, etc. But it wasn't necessarily having it all the time, every single night and things. And that made massive differences on his health straight away. He was able to perform a lot better when he was in the gym, etc. He had a clearer head most days. So from a business perspective as well, he really, really did benefit from that.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, no, it was.
Good story.
I kind of, and then this is kind of reasons why I do what I do. I love that kind of ability just sometimes to do the most simplest of things, but people don't necessarily always think about it. And a lot of what we've talked about these last 6 episodes, none of it's been real rocket science. We're not talking about trying to raise a pyramid here using just wood and stone. We're actually just doing things that are almost like everyday things, but sometimes it's doing those things consciously rather than just by chance. Yeah. So speaking about doing things consciously, I think the other thing to think about is actually what happens when we're away and outside of our normal routine.
That is the tricky bit.
It is, and it's that bit can sometimes make or break. And as you know, you probably weren't conscious to it, but you were there. I did those 5 years where nothing really worked, nothing really stuck, didn't really see much of a weight loss or a fitness improvement. And I think a lot of that was because of the lifestyle just being so haphazard, not knowing exactly which city, county, or country I was going to be in is kind of a challenge. And then obviously then having to take care of everything else to go alongside it. So I think the one thing that I kind of found is understanding how to create substitutes or how to actually control some of those kind of in the moment stresses, so that you've got almost like pre-made decisions can make or break your goals as you're kind of going through them. Now, what do I actually mean by that? So let's take a simple example. If you're, let's say you're going to be working away, you're not going to be in your own home, you're going to be working out of a hotel somewhere, and you're going to be there for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Or it could be that you're actually just going away on holiday for a couple of weeks. And the fact is, if it's just a one-off, it's just a couple of weeks, just like a holiday, the likelihood is, okay, you might go out of your habits, you might end up eating or drinking not necessarily the way that your body needs it to. But you can very quickly, if you come back and you back into your good habits, your good ways of working, you can quite easily reverse some of that kind of work that's happened during those holidays. The issue becomes is if it's part of your work and you're almost working away for maybe 3-4 weeks of the month, and that month in, month out can actually have quite a detrimental effect. And that's where you really need to have some kind of strategies of how you can approach that. So it might be things like actually looking in advance and thinking about where you're going to be eating and actually looking at the menu before you arrive there to make those decisions while you're not in a stressful situation where
you're not on the spot.
Exactly.
Going in there with what you're going to do.
Yeah. And it's making those kind of choices then based on what you've been eating for the day, what you've been moving for the day, etc. And because you can do that and prepare for it before you've even got there, it means that it becomes so much easier to then stick to things that are actually going to support you and your body in the goals that you're trying to achieve.
I don't have anything to add to that. That was good.
You just look like you were going to say something. I thought better make
No,
some
not
space.
quite.
So things like that, for example, or it might be you're going away and the location you're going to doesn't have a gym nearby, or it doesn't have a facility on site, for example, that you can go work out at. So again, incorporating things that you can take with you. So again, if you're a runner, sticking some trainers and some shorts in your bag doesn't actually take up that much space. If you wanted to do a bit of resistance training, again, things like taking resistance bands with you. Again, you're not going to have the best workout you probably ever expect, but you're going to get a workout and it's going to keep you, sometimes just keep you in the habit of doing something is actually the most powerful thing that you can possibly do. Because again, it stops it stops you from breaking the chain or breaking the cycle of what you've been doing. And sometimes that can be the biggest thing, is just keeping the habits going.
And if you are doing calisthenics with resistance bands and stuff, like, it is good to have that functional movement. So it's definitely not a waste of time. Like, you're not probably going to come out looking like Arnold, but you will have the strength in places that you can use in normal life, which is very good. That's primal movement.
Yeah, I mean, functional movements are absolutely superb, and you're right. I mean, even just body weight movement, calisthenics is a great way of being able to get your body moving.
And it's not like calisthenics is it's no joke. Like, it's still hard.
Exactly, especially when it's done right, and that's the kind of key thing, is to put your mind into it, keep your connection with your muscles correct. Look at doing it with good form, slow down some movements, etc. Don't just throw things around. It no longer becomes, you're not just doing it just to get through half an hour. You're doing this because there's a purpose behind it for your body.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, there's a whole host of things that we look at through those type of elements, and I think let's just finish off with kind of one element though, which when it comes down to building a method, this may or may not be the right place to put it, but actually I think it's a really important thing to do on a very regular basis, and that is to actually have gratitude for what you've done. Gratitude for your body, gratitude for the life that you have, gratitude for just everything, really.
Smell the roses in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Smell the roses is a nice way of kind of putting it. Because, and I'm not talking about the whole woo woo kind of, you've got to be thankful and grateful for everything on the planet, etc. Because, it doesn't always work that way. But sometimes you're going to be grateful for the experiences, even the things that you think are really trying and really testing you at this point in time. That stressor that you're going through at work, that person who's been an absolute pain in the neck, all those things, as horrible as they might be as you're going through them, they're actually going to be massively character building.
Well, your hardest times will teach you the most about self, probably.
Exactly.
So yeah, call it character building.
Yeah, the hardest times do teach you the most about yourself, and it's being able to then sit back and look and think, actually, what is this doing for me? What is it actually giving me? What is it enabling me to do?
It'll teach you something for sure somewhere. Like, you'll be able to find that golden nugget.
I mean, for some people, for example, the going to work can just be such a stressful situation. That is a case, you have to think, okay, well, actually, why are you doing that? Why are you going to work? What is going to work actually enabling you to do? And for some people, it literally is the basics. It's saying, well, going to work keeps a roof over my head, food on the table, and a shirt on my back. And that might be, for some people, as much as they get from it. They might not be feeling satisfied with life by going to work. They might not be feeling that they have prospects going forwards. But even just that basic recognition to say, actually, I'm really thankful that I do have a job. I'm really thankful that I can put food on the table. I can have a roof over my head, means that they've got somewhere to start to work from. And even just that simple recognition of the gratitude for that situation means that the whole of their demeanor will change for that role. And sometimes that can just be the difference, and actually saying, okay, well, actually, how do I now make things a bit better. What is it that I need to do for my career to take that next step? And sometimes it might just be a case of having that conversation with somebody, or learning a new skill, or putting themselves out just that little bit more in a certain area of it. But until you've kind of got that recognition, that kind of acceptance, that piece of humility to say, actually, no, I'm really grateful for this. Or for example, like me earlier this year, when completely and totally damaged my shoulder. And I was really grateful to Emma, my physio. Emma, the physio, you are amazing. Thank you for repairing my shoulder. But it took like 6 months for the shoulders to sort itself out. And during that 6 months, I was on like bodyweight exercises, some functional training, etc., running. But I couldn't really lift any weights, and the way where it was as well was it just impacted everything. So there's no back squats. Nothing that used arms at all, nothing that used chest or back. So yeah, it was a real gnarly situation. But the thing was with that is I actually could lean more into doing the running. So I was really grateful that I was starting to run at that point in time, because it gave me an outlet. It gave me something where I could, work through any of the stresses of the day. I was really grateful that my running was starting to improve by that point as well. So along with being really grateful for finding a great physio as well, that I've been able to recommend to other people, who does an amazing job. So there's lots of things I can be really grateful for that, which was a very painful situation. So rather than just sitting back and thinking, oh my God, well, that's it, I can't do this, I can't do that, oh, woe is me, etc. Maybe I shouldn't have, well, whatever it is that I did to actually make that happen, and we're not entirely certain exactly what it was, but rather than sitting in that position and wallowing in the pittiness, actually being grateful for what I could do rather than worrying about what I couldn't made a big difference.
Yeah, that's definitely a good perspective to have.
Yeah, I think that's the same for any kind of situation. It's kind of it's looking at life and thinking, actually, what has this given me? And like we've said before, we've talked about this a few times. Actually, our minds are set up to always find the negative areas of life, and they'll show us 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't do something just to try and keep us safe. We have to keep reminding ourselves and be really conscious, actually, of all the good things that kind of happen in our lives, and keep recognizing them and celebrating them in as many ways as possibly can. Like we said before, success begets success.
I love that. I think that's a nice quote.
I think it's quite a nice quote to end on as well. And, this isn't going to be the end of the podcast series at all. We've got lots of interviews coming up with some amazing guests, which we're going to be cycling in and out of episodes with Dom and myself. We're going to come back on another series, and we'll see what we'll come out with for that. We'll probably keep deep diving into various different areas. Obviously, if you guys have got any suggestions, any questions, any thoughts, any queries, any kind of stuff that's just going on in your head or something, you're welcome to reach out to us or drop us a message. Either stick it in the comments below or send us a message to email.
hello@martinsharp.com.
Thank God you're here. And yeah, we will look forward to definitely being able to answer some of those messages and help you be able to become even more healthier, happier, and higher achieving.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next one, guys.
Yeah, definitely. So have an absolutely super time ahead. Thoroughly enjoy your life, and we'll catch up with you later. Bye for now.